Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Khensani Nyambi, and I'm from the Young African Entrepreneurs Institute, and I'm an executive there. So we're hoping that there was going to be more youth, so that we can talk about how they can do businesses and also the opportunities for young people especially, right? But there's always an area of learning for anyone in the room. The two things that I'll speak about this afternoon is one, entrepreneurship, and the second one is on leadership, right? And maybe looking at entrepreneurship on a high level, you would think of it as the ability to create something, to create a business, and that business will have its ups and downs, it will have its challenges, but you have the ability to then resolve those challenges, to foresee some risks, but to take on risks that you don't foresee as well. So that has to do with a lot of business, right? You don't know what's going to happen within your business, but you have to be open-minded to anything. And so within entrepreneurship, there are quite a lot of challenges, right? You find challenges with funding, so there's a lot of people who look for funding and they don't get funding. I think it's important to know that sometimes it's not money that you need in order for your business to grow. You can use partnerships and different methods, right? There's also a lack of access to markets, and that basically means that you have maybe products or a service, but it's not reaching the right people. So you need to think about how do you reach those people, how do you access markets, and there are avenues in place, like the Young African Entrepreneurs Institute that help with that process of you accessing markets. And then lastly, you find things like lack of awareness to opportunities generally. So young people like now, right, this is an opportunity that has been set up for people to come and learn and squeeze in the different nuggets. But then if you don't show up, then you'll miss out on the opportunities, right? So that is an important element of entrepreneurship as well, to see the opportunities that are out there, but also to make it a point to really go in and take them, right? As we all know, unemployment is quite rife in South Africa right now. A lot of people are unemployed, the youth is unemployed, graduates are also unemployed. Most of the time when you go to school and university, you go there so that you're able to get a job. So it really it's not well that you finish and you graduate, but you're still not able to get a job, right? So that's a very sad statistic that we're seeing in South Africa currently. And then entrepreneurship becomes that alternative route, right? If you don't have a job, what do you do as an alternative in order to still have an income, because you still need to live, right? You still need to live. So what do you do in order to get that additional thing? And that's when entrepreneurship becomes an important initiative to take, right? So it's important to know that entrepreneurship is an alternative that you can use in really generating income. But a key thing is to not glamorize it entirely. You see a lot of things on social media, people making it seem like I made it, in 5 years' time I was able to buy this. In 2 years' time, 2 months, I was able to generate so much money. But it's important to know that entrepreneurship has its ups and downs. It's very, very difficult. You might not be at an employer where someone is telling you to work a 9 to 5, but you might be working long hours for your own business. And the sad part is you can work all those long hours and still not be making enough money. So I think it's important to know that entrepreneurship is there, but you need to know that there are challenges that come with entrepreneurship as well. And ask yourself whether that is something that you want to do, right? And if it is not, what other alternatives are there? There are investments that you can do and things like that. Of course, that requires a lot of money as well, but it's important to know that you are not going into something that is just glamorized, that seems great, but in turn, you're surprised when you have to sleep, you have to work long hours, right? So that's a little bit on entrepreneurship. What I really wanted to deep dive on the most is leadership. I think this is a topic that we don't take quite seriously when we enter into entrepreneurship. We just think, I'm starting my business, I'm going to hire people. But leadership becomes an important element to look at, a component, right? Because who you are as a leader can determine where your business goes or how far it goes. You find different leadership styles in people where you have the hands-off kind of leader, where they allow their teams to to really develop the business. They allow them to be creative and come up with their own solutions, which is amazing, right? Because it allows people to really tap into that creativity element. It also allows people to think that they're part of a bigger mission and they're not just there as employees. So I do commend that leadership style. But I think with that, it's quite important as well to know that you can't be too hands-off to a point where everything around you is happening and you don't know, you don't have insights on what that is, right? It's important to know that as a leader, you're driving the culture every single day, so you cannot leave that to someone else to drive it. So as much as there's that hands-off approach, it's important to also be there when it matters and to show up and to show face and drive the culture that you want to see. A second sort of leadership style that we see is one that is very different, or the opposite of the first one that I mentioned. It's where you find people who are micromanaging, right? And those people are the ones who are always checking in. Have you done this? Have you done that? When will you be done with this? You know, they're very hands-on, or maybe too hands-on with everything. And I think that really takes your team on it causes turmoil for the team, right? Because it means that you can't have that creativity element, you can't have that level of flexibility to think for yourself. And I don't think that is necessarily a good approach. It can have its benefits, maybe when there are tight deadlines, you're pushing the team. But it's important to caveat that, you know, there is an element where you need to step back and allow people to learn and make it their own journey as well. So I'll speak a little bit on what we do as the Young African Entrepreneurs Institute and at the group level, African Entrepreneurship Development Corporation. So we run, as part of YAEI, so we call it YAEI, the Young African Entrepreneurs Institute, we run youth programs, right? Currently we have a youth entrepreneurship program. And so if you have anyone that you know who's youth, please just deliver this message to them. But we have a youth entrepreneurship program that has 3 components to it. The first one is a youth entrepreneurship tour. So what that is it's a tour where we go around South Africa. So we've done that already. We go around different provinces in South Africa, mainly to townships, to rural areas, or places that are normally not visited, right, by the big businesses or those that deliver education. And so we go to Limpopo, to the deep places in Limpopo, Eastern Cape, all the provinces, trying to deliver on what entrepreneurship looks like. What is happening in the entrepreneurship space? Where are businesses currently? What is the funding landscape? So we deliver on the education element. And then we have business site visits where we go and visit different businesses and see what their issues and challenges are, because it's important to know what the challenges of businesses are so that you're able to help them, right? And then the next thing that we do is a business innovation challenge. So the youth innovation challenge, it's when we have pitching. People get to pitch their businesses or their ideas, and we mostly look for innovative businesses that will then form part of our Emerging Innovators program. And this is a 12-month program where they receive coaching and one-on-one support from our business advisors, and also access to funding, access to markets as well. And then the last thing on the youth entrepreneurship tour is the symposium. So we have a partnership with ABSA actually, so it's such a coincidence. We have a partnership with ABSA where we deliver on financial inclusion topics. So the last day is really a panel discussion around what does financial inclusion look like right now? What do you need in order to get funding, and all of those topics that become a challenge for young people. So that's the first element of the youth entrepreneurship program. Then we have a skills program, the youth skills program, which is currently happening right now. So the skills program is taking the people that were part of the tour and then teaching them and educating around key topics. So we look at entrepreneurial mindset, we look at resourcing. So what kind of resources do you need to build a business, the tools that you need, and then we look at sustainable ventures. So we are in the business of not just almost being an incubator and teaching people, but saying, we want your businesses to be sustainable. We want them to last years and years. So how do we build that, right? And so that's what we do during the skills program. And then towards the end of the year, in November, we'll have a youth entrepreneurship week. You can check our socials. We actually have a lot of information on that right now. People can sign up for that. And this is where you get to exhibit. And there will be a lot of networking opportunities because we have different partners on board, from government agencies, government, corporates, and development organizations as well. So it's a great opportunity if you want to exhibit to be there as well. And so that's the last thing that we have on the Youth Entrepreneurship Program. But I do want to speak about two separate programs, which is the Emerging Innovators one that I spoke about. And this program is really good because young people get to explore and test out ideas and have the ability to pivot if something is not working. We've recently, in partnership with ABSA and Visa, launched a fund where each of them were able to get 100,000 Rand for their businesses and their business development. So that's very helpful because it goes towards making sure that their businesses have been tested, their products are tested and then developed further, right? And then the one that we recently piloted, or we're recently piloting, is the Ascend Her program, So the Ascend Her program is for women, specifically for women. And what we saw here is that women face a lot of different challenges when it comes to business and entrepreneurship as a whole. You'll see that the stats are not great, where women are generating or are getting less than about 2% of funding, right, that is available. And so that's a big problem because you don't become motivated as a woman to come into a space where you know that you might be excluded because of different barriers. So this program is specifically aimed at women. We've tried to look at women who are within the STEM industries, but industries that are generally male dominated, to make sure that they are empowered as well. So that's a program that we've recently launched, and we already have 10 people who are part of the program. But I do think it's a call to everyone to really familiarize yourself with the opportunities that are out there and what we have as well, so that you can become part of some of them or become part of our database, and we can work together to ensuring that we are eradicating unemployment through entrepreneurship. Thank you so much everyone for the time.